Welcome to Improve Your English Writing video number 54, where I'll be discussing numbers, and this is part one of a 6-part series on numbers. And in this video, I'll be discussing word style versus figure style, Rule 73, using a consistent format for related numbers, which is Rule 74, numbers in the millions, billions, and trillions, Rule 75, and numbers at the beginning of a sentence or title, which is Rule 76. If you'd like to get notifications for the series, please click subscribe. If you like the video, or you definitely think others will find it useful, please click like, and check out links to videos and books in the description, like a link to the companion volume. I haven't said this for a while, but there are more examples in the companion volume. And I occasionally, or depending on which rule, I do contain additional information in the companion volume. So let's get to the first rule, which is Rule 73, which is on word style and figure style. So this rule basically says the popular style guides recommend either a word style or a figure style for formatting numbers. Formal writing mostly follows a word style, and I'll be defining what that is. That's in the Chicago Manual of Style, or MLA. And journalism, business, and technical writing mainly follows a figure style, and that's the references, the AP style guide, and the Greg's reference manual, and the APA basically follow the figure style. So let's discuss what word and figure style are. First, let's discuss word style. Word style is basically you spell out the numbers, or you spell out a number that can be written in one or two words, accounting a hyphenated word like 21 as one word. Therefore, based upon this, that means you would spell out the numbers 1 to 100 plus some round numbers above 100, so like 200, 5,000, things like that. So you spell out basically words that can be said or written out in one or two words. That means you use figures for a number that cannot be written out in one or two words, and the exceptions include, and I'll cover these in future videos, so you'll get this again in case you forget. But that so you use figures for any thing that can't be written in one or two words, with the exceptions of dates, time, monetary amounts, addresses, technical measurements, decimal fractions, percentages, or ordinals, and I cover that in rules 74 through 90. So what is figure style? The other main style of formatting numbers is you spell out single digit numbers, so 1 to 9, and you use figures for anything 10 or above, with the exceptions just like in the word style, except for dates and times, monetary amounts, addresses, technical measurements, decimal fractions, percentages, or ordinals, rules 74 through 90. So just to repeat, this is maybe one of the reasons why people are confused how to format numbers, is because there's always been two formatting styles that have been going on, which are used in the style guides. Some use a word style, some use a figure style. Once again, the summary is for style guides that are following a word style, you basically spell out numbers that can be written in one or two words, and you use figures for everything else. And the summary for figure style is you spell out 1 to 9, and you use figures for everything else. So use what your style guide, how you saw it in the previous slide, of which ones use figure versus word style. So, and if you're not too sure which one to use, or you're using your own style, pick one and stick with it. So just some continuing rules regarding numbers is when you spell out the numbers, when you spell out a number from 21 to 99, use a hyphen. You can actually see it here, the hyphen in 21 and 99. Do not use a hyphen to spell out the portion over 100. So here are some examples. 21, this is from 21 to 99, so use a hyphen. Whoops, there's supposed to be a comma here. This is a mistake. It's supposed to be 35 and a comma right here. Sorry about that mistake. So 35, so we would use a hyphen. And then comma, then 500 has no has no hyphen because it's above 99, and like 3000 has no hyphen because it's above 100. Sorry about the mistake there. There's supposed to be a comma and a space right there. And then using a comma separator, use a comma to separate thousands, millions, billions, trillions, and so on. But you do not use a comma separator between, thousands, millions, and billions. With a year, a page number, a line number, an address number, zip code, telephone number, serial or invoice number, room number, or an acoustic or broadcast frequency like 2000 hertz. So you do use a comma to separate the thousands or millions and billions, but you do not use a comma separator for these types of numbers here. So for example, the population was 25,304. So we separate the thousands here with a comma. This is just a population number. It's not one of these in the second bullet here. In 1832, now this number is above 1,000. So normally we'd put a comma right here, but since this is a year, we do not. It exploded to 1 million, this number right here. And here in this number, we put a comma separator for the millions and for the thousands. In 1932, once again, even though this is above 1,000, we do not put the comma separator because it is a year. Sophia's 2015 statement is found on transcript page 1024. So once again, we do, normally we would put comma separators between the 2 and the 0 here, between the 1 and the 0 here, but because this is a year, we do not put a comma separator, and because this is a page number, right here, page number, we do not put comma separators. And then Nick lives at 9112 Plymouth Avenue. So normally we would put a comma between the 9 and the 1 for the thousands, but since this is an address number, we do not put the comma separator. So on to Rule 74. So Rule 73 was about just the word style and figure style. It doesn't really have any examples. As we go through, you'll actually see numbers that use this formatting, and sometimes we're going to have to specify within these rules. We'll have to come up, with some examples if this is following word style or figure style. So Rule 74 is use a consistent format for related numbers in the same sentence or context. Use figures for related numbers when one number would be spelled out and another number would be expressed in figures. I would say the second sentence is actually the main thrust of Rule number 74. It's all about using consistent format. And most people aren't too sure what happens when one would be, would we be spelled out and use a figure? Which one do you use? Well, this is the second part, or the second sentence here says when one would be spelled out and the other one would use a number. Basically just use a number for both. So here we have a word style example. I own 42 horses, because remember, anything that can be expressed in one or two words would be spelled out. I own 42 horses and they eat 175 bales of hay. Now, these two numbers are not related. This one is, could these be, are these related numbers here in blue? The answer is no. So owning horses and how many bales of hay you bought or they eat is not, the numbers are not related. So you would just write them how they would normally be written. But if they were related, then what would happen is that if you had one that was spelled out and one that used figures, you'd both use figures. So if they are both related, which these are not, then you would use numbers. So this would actually have been a 4 and a 2. But here I have the comment that these are not related numbers. And then an example in figure style. I own 3 chickens and 12 dogs. So here the numbers are related. So we would use, because normally in figure style, any number that's 9 or below, we would spell out. But since these two numbers 3 and 12 are related because they're about the numbers regard how many things you own. So since they are related, we need a consistent format. But normally this would be written out, as 3, and this would actually be a figure 12 in figure style. But since these are related numbers, then we use figures for both. So my comment, the numbers are related. So on to rule 75 is when a number or monetary amount is in the millions, billions, or trillions, use figures with the word million, billion, or trillion. The figure must be a whole number, like 1 million, or a whole number with one decimal place, like 1.2 million. Use a consistent format in the sentence or context. So this is basically about writing large numbers. When you have large numbers in the millions, billions, or trillions, you're allowed, instead of just writing it all out like 1 million, like 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, you can just write 1 million, the figure 1 and the word million. And you're allowed to do this with one whole number or a whole number and one decimal place. So, but just to note that the AP style book does allow up to 2 decimal places, like 1.23 million. But the rule above, meaning just a whole number or one decimal place, does dominate AP examples, which makes you think that they really just want you to follow the above rule, but it does allow up to 2 decimal places. All the other style books, it's this above rule. And the AP also allows the use of a capital M for million, so like 1.4 million without power, or capital B for billion, like $2 billion deficit in headlines. So it does allow the abbreviation capital M and capital B for million and billion in headlines. And in informal writing, or where space is limited, like in a table, chart, or graph, using capital K for 1,000, capital M for million, and capital B for billion is acceptable. So let's look at some examples. The viral YouTube video had 1.3 million views in a single week. So you're thinking, you had to write that out like 1,300, 000 for 1,300,000. You can actually just write that large number 1.3 million this way. So the worldwide population is 7.7 billion. Once again, you don't need to write it out with all the zeros. This large number you can write with, remember, a whole number or just to one decimal place. You can write it out 7.7 billion this way. The U.S. national debt is 28 trillion. Just another example. Instead of using the full with commas and all the zeros, you can just write this. The company's revenue is 1.3 million. Just another example. And here's a little bit more trickier example. The 2016 labor cost was 950,000. In 2017, it was 1,200,000. Now, you could be saying, well, hold on, this is a large number. We've just been writing large numbers. Why isn't this written out 1.2 with million? Because we need a consistent format. These numbers are regarding labor costs, and we need to use a consistent format within the context. So you don't write it this way, which I have there. Do not format as 950,000 and 1.2 million. Use a consistent format. So on to Rule 76, which is about spelling out words at the numbers at the beginning of a sentence. The rule says basically you spell out a number at the beginning of a sentence or title. However, avoid beginning a sentence or title with a number by rewriting, especially when the number is expressed in more than 2 words. So I couldn't find in any reference where it says you could actually write out, the word. If you needed 5 words to express the number, that's what you do. Because most references say you you write out the number at the beginning of a sentence. So what you want to do is you want to avoid that situation. So avoid beginning a sentence with a number, especially when it's expressed in more than 2 words. So 3,000 people signed the pledge. This is perfectly fine. Remember, you should avoid it when it's more than 2 words. Here you have 2 words. Most people would consider this perfectly appropriate. 3,000 people signed the pledge. You spell out the words at the beginning of a sentence. But if you're trying to avoid this situation with a number at the beginning of a sentence, a rewrite in word style would be the pledge was signed by 3,000 people, which is just the same thing. And or you can write the pledge was signed by 3,000 people if you're writing it in figure style. Another example is 120 of the 151 applicants had work experience. Here, this does follow the rule. Remember, the basic rule is you spell out the number at the beginning of a sentence, but you should avoid having a number at the beginning of a sentence that's more than 2 words. So in this case, you probably want to avoid this situation, even though this is probably perfectly fine to write it this way, but you should actually avoid this. Like this one here is probably acceptable in most cases. You're not going to really have a heartache, but you want to avoid the situation, like this second example, and you probably want to rewrite it. So the rewrite in either style would be of the 151 applicants, 120 had work experience. So that's it for this video. If you want to get notifications for the series, please click subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like. Check out links to books and videos in the description.